Driving the culture forward. This is Hypebeast Radio. My name is Ben Rosen. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves? We have a very special episode.
I'm Heather Haber.
And I'm Remington guest of ABC.
And you guys run Advisory Board Crystals.
Yes.
We're the ABC kids.
ABC.
And so I like a story that has a really cool origin story. Or like a brand that has a cool origin story. And I think you guys have one of the cooler, like, 21st century. Like, how would you explain it?
Do you want to take
No,
this?
you do it.
So I guess I'll give the medium length version. But
Gotcha.
essentially, we met in an UberPOOL in LA. And we're both actually not social at all. So she was on one side of the car, looking out the window, like not towards me. And I didn't even want to see who was in the car because UberPOOL at that time was like just cheap Uber.
I took it because it was $4. No one was ever in it. It was like...
It was new tech. So
Right.
it was
like a best
rad.
kept
Like,
secret.
I'm hacking the system. I got into the car. I'm like, there's this girl in here. So
no,
annoying.
you didn't care. I was annoyed.
I was annoyed too, but my friend got in the middle and he was sort of just like trying to talk. And somehow, Band of Outsiders was said. And I was like, well, Band of Outsiders, like most people don't even know what Band of Outsiders is, even when it was like really around.
Yeah, so we both like looked at each other and then
we were like, huh? Like Dave Chappelle looked over like, huh?
Yeah.
And that sort of got the
We've been
conversation
watching
going.
a lot of Dave Chappelle lately.
On repeat on Netflix. It's the best thing
It's
right
the greatest
now
show,
ever.
probably. But wait, so you guys met in the UberPOOL.
Met in the UberPOOL.
And then him and his friend got out. They went to wherever they were going. And I went to the Ace Hotel. And like 2 hours later, I hear someone call my name and I look behind me and it's them.
And I wasn't supposed to go to the A's. I was going to a restaurant and I hated it so much that I just left. But before that, a friend of mine who I never talked to invited me to something at the A's and I RSVP'd like weeks before.
Right.
My friend was visiting, so I was like, I have to do something in downtown. I can't just leave because you're not gonna walk around. I'm like, oh, we'll go to the A's.
And I also happened to be there for a long time because I was waiting for my friend who was late. But usually I leave somewhere like in a second. So it was just like perfect timing.
Yeah, and I saw Heather. I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah,
and
what
then
a
and we
had
just
a really
started
fun night.
talking. It was funny.
Yeah, then I DM'd her later after I left. Like, I still didn't get her number. I walked away. I was like, what am I doing? DM'd her, went on a walk.
And the rest
Instantly
is
fell in
history.
love, started a brand. That was basically...
And then he stayed in LA. Never went back to
Never
Wait,
LA.
so you weren't even in LA?
I wasn't living
was
there. I
just
was there
visiting.
for a moment, visiting my grandfather and just, visiting. And then met her and moved back.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that like you guys both bonded over the Band of Outsiders connection. We were talking about how you guys had listened to the Scott Sternberg episode. Did you both work there? What's the story with that?
I interned there in 2008, the summer of 2008, while I was still in school. And
I was found by him in like 2009. I was modeling at the time in New York. I became like the de facto like band model. I was like
In
doing
New
all in New
York,
York,
and I was
all
in
the
LA.
looks. So I didn't know she was working
yeah, we never
there.
like crossed paths.
Well, I was like with Scott for a long time, doing a lot of various things. I opened the showroom here. Was always like one of his good friends. So that was that like strange whole connection. It's come full circle now because now she comes to me to hang out with Scott, and it's just like a strange like.
And he wears our shirts.
Yeah, he's a big ABC fan.
It's like the
Shout out Scott Sternberg.
Yeah, shout out to Scott Sternberg. Shout out to Entire World. Shout out. And
He
so
works in the office, and my good friend works there. And so, like, it's a whole circle of ABC in entire world.
I feel like there's like a certain like each city has like their streetwear alumni or whatever.
Yeah.
And like Band of Outsiders has its own like kind of like constellation of
Totally.
streetwear people now. Because I had no clue. I feel like I like when you're online and you're like removed from it, it just feels like all these brands kind of come up out of nowhere.
Yeah.
No,
But
it's
if-
a thing.
But it feels like ABC was kind of like you guys had the band connection and there's kind of like other stuff at play too. So how did you guys start that? What was the...
But then it totally
yeah.
had nothing to do with that at the same time because we had, like, zero connections. Like,
Right.
just...
It's strange, like we've both been around. Like I'm such a New York person. I was just bouncing around doing so many different things, and she was very LA.
Like, I went to art school, studied fashion, just was always doing my own thing, but very, like, just within my own world.
And
Not
starting
like,
ABC was a real grind. We weren't like friends and with a bunch of people. Like a lot of people that start brands today, it seems like they're all like
we're total
plugged in.
actual outsiders.
It's through the grapevine, and that is the band connection because Scott was a total outsider when he started. I mean, his connections were more with CAA, and
Right.
like actors, and that had nothing to do with fashion. That didn't help him get anywhere until he started doing lookbooks, which obviously was huge and cool, but that was because he was creative.
Right.
So in that sense, because of like our outside, like not even mentality, like fact,
Status.
reality,
Yeah.
status.
Stats.
Like it's really been tough, but it's also been cool that we could prove to ourselves that we could do this.
Like we really are the definition of DIY.
And so what was
Not
the
kidding.
brainchild of the brand? Because like obviously you guys did you start dating? What came first? The
No,
brand
we
or
were
the-
met,
together,
and
yeah.
then like 2 months later, we
show the tattoo.
basically
Can-
started it. We both have tattoos in the same place.
I wrote that on her, and then she wrote it on me. For those listening, which I guess is everyone, it says "I'm yours."
Wow.
In each of our handwriting, and that was the first time I had to come home. And it was like a month after we met or something.
It was
Yeah,
like
so
2
that
months.
happened first, and then we just knew we wanted to spend all of our time together. I was consulting at the time, and we were like,
I
"How do
think
we?"
we right away basically said we have to do something together, but we didn't know what. And then we started working on it.
It
And
was like
sort
a
of,
private mood board on Instagram, like just pulling images. And we had this idea. We were driving through Pasadena, and we saw like a geology shop or a bookstore with something in the
yeah.
window. And we're like, crystal something, like not in the traditional way, because it's really like whack as it is right now.
because you left that out of the story, the crystal thing.
Oh, on our first walk, we went to a crystal shop in LA, in Silver Lake, and I bought her a crystal, like for all these cute reasons that I thought she wanted, like should have this one specific crystal.
Right. Like, you wandered into the store and they were like, "Oh, this one right here." This
Yeah.
one's-"
I knew the one I was looking for.
Oh, wow,
I
okay.
know a bit about crystals.
It's a secret.
It's a secret crystal. But that was part of the reasoning behind it. And the advisory board aspect was sort of this idea of like authoritative, this element of people. You see it on our lookbooks, like Jonas Wood is sort of like this authoritative figure in the art world.
yeah.
And we want to shoot, like famous psychologists, like not your
Like
necessarily.
a Linda Baton.
Yeah, more interesting people that are representative of like this mentality of like being intellectual and just different.
It feels sort of like a think tank in a weird
Totally.
way. Like there's like an aspect
Yeah.
where it's like the collaborations are in like this vein of like, yo, like this hoodie is inspired by Le Corbusier.
There's a lot of
Like we definitely didn't set out to do a clothing brand. It was sort of just like an experiment project that we didn't know like exactly what it was going to be. So I
And
think
so the
that's-
first date, you guys knew that it was like, okay, we should do something with crystals. And what was like the first thing that you did with it?
we made a crystal pack and a T-shirt
Yeah, 'cause
for
we didn't
Union.
know it was going to be fashion at first. We
Right.
knew we wanted to do something. It was so loose, and then we met with Chris Union because I
Well, we
knew
mostly
him.
wanted to be like collaborations, so like we didn't have to do production
Yeah.
because I was like totally against
Smart, yeah.
production.
ABC Concepts was not a name we were thinking, but in the back of our head, we were like ABC Concepts. Like we come up with the concept, we don't have to
You
produce
handle it.
anything.
Yeah,
And then we became
and
sort of
also
these.
a way to work in like a lot of different realms.
Yeah. Cross category. I mean, the creative today is sort of like, like what is an artist? What is a designer? What is
Yeah,
anything?
yeah.
It's
There's
sort of
no
like
limit.
cross category. And it depends on like your approach and intention, we believe. So it's that's sort of our approach to this whole thing. It is like a body of work, and a lot of things are connected. Like even, for example, a study in camouflage we did with Patron of the New in September, and we're doing a study in camouflage 2 tonight. So we'd like to tie a lot of things together. Like even our pop-up in Hong Kong with Hypebeast was failed fantasies, and an underlying theme within that was radiant cities. And with Colette, we did radiant living, which is an aspect of living within the radiant city.
Right.
And you'll see a larger like sort of art exhibition meets commerce thing next year we're doing that has to do with, I can't tell you
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah, it's still very much under wraps.
But anyways, the first thing we did was a crystal pack and a T-shirt for Union in LA.
Yeah.
And like the T-shirt was inspired by a rose quartz, so we did like a whole dye process that made it look exactly like a rose quartz.
Crystal
and
infused dye. We came up with like a lot of interesting proprietary processes.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
because, like, literally, like, I feel like that's sort of like the myth is that, like, you can buy these socks and they're washed with crystals.
yeah, but it sort of stems from, it's like very DIY, but it stems from like a necessity because like we kind of had to come up with something weird and special that we could do.
Right. Yeah.
Like not
You've got to find your niche. You've got
Yeah.
to
Totally.
find like a thing.
that we could just do like in our studio.
I was just
Just
having,
us.
speaking of Chris Gibbs, I was talking to these guys last week, like the dudes that do online ceramics, if you guys know about them. They're like,
No.
they're these two deadheads that basically run like a t-shirt bootleg. Like you guys would
That's
totally,
hilarious. Okay.
No, but it's awesome. So like the company's called Ceramics because originally they wanted to make sculpture. And then no one was buying sculptures.
Yeah.
Like they were like, wow, this is way too expensive, way too. And so they basically started tie-dyeing T-shirts
Yeah.
and like making their own bootleg
That's
dead merch.
funny.
And like and then their first stockist was Chris Gibbs because it was literally the same.
That's crazy. I didn't even know.
Yeah. So
Wow.
like, I mean, I find that like whenever I talk to people that are running things like this, they were like, yeah, man, we wanted to do X, but people kept buying the T-shirts and the
Yeah.
socks, and they were wonky, and we just kind of thought, okay, we'll keep doing that.
Also, PSA, we don't do tie-dye.
It's true.
We actually don't call it tie-dye. It's like just a dye
painted
process.
yeah.
Yeah,
Because we
'cause
don't tie
It's not
things
like
up. And that's why
traditional tie-dye.
if you
Right.
look at our dyed garments, why they look so different, it's because we're not tie dyeing like other people
Like
are.
really
Right.
no one knows how to do it.
Because it is proprietary, and you guys keep it all
Yeah,
like, very much under
totally.
wraps.
That's why we don't really have studio visits and people coming in to
I was
see
gonna
what we're
say
doing.
because like literally like I don't know what adds it. But there's
Yeah.
something there.
No. Everyone's like, it'd be great Instagram content. It's like, I don't do it for the gram. You know, like we're doing this because like
I
we
do
kind
it
of
for content.
exactly. Yeah. Shout out
So
Kendrick
really-
Lamar. Yeah, we do it because we feel like we sort of need to, almost like that artist approach. Like we need to do this work in a way because it's a part of something bigger. And right now it is just, it looks like a men's streetwear brand.
But there
there's-
is so much else
We've
at
had
play.
so much. We had a really big planning phase. It was really like 3 or 4 months, and we kind of like set. It feels like a 20-year groundwork.
I was
going
gonna
to
say, how far ahead do you guys have everything planned? Because we were talking earlier
Really?
that like the patron party is happening tonight, and you're like already like we have 5 other
Super
things. to
far
talk about.
out. It's always very loose because of new projects that come in and new opportunities. You know, it's like we have this in play, and then this comes along, so that has to be pushed. We were supposed to be doing something with the new museum a year ago,
Really?
and we just haven't been able to do it. We had
Also because it's just us, literally. Our
Yeah. The
team.
The company is literally just
Yeah.
you
the
two?
two of us.
No one else. No one helping us
Wow.
with anything.
we have a lot of control, and it's good that way. Again, it's going back to like the artist mentality. It's like, yes, they have like assistants, but like you need to do the work.
Yeah.
And there's really no one that can really understand like how much we're putting in and every aspect that we're trying to achieve and accomplish and portray. It can really only come from us. And if you
Right.
see any large company, the ones that are doing the best are like the person that founded it is still there.
Right.
You know, like that
Patagonia.
vision. Exactly what I said yesterday was Patagonia. So we're trying to, you know, who doesn't want to become a heritage brand? Like, you know, Nike was a niche brand,
Mm-hmm.
Patagonia was a niche brand, so was Apple. So it's all these sort of ideas of how do you become that from this.
Right.
So that's sort of like the groundwork we're trying to lay, and it's slow but steady.
Right.
And I think that's what wins the race. Someone said that, right?
There was a brand called that. It used to be
Yeah.
an opening ceremony, something like that.
And so you have all this laid out, and there's also like a lot of bigger picture stuff. Like we mentioned, like the Le Corbusier and all that. Is it hard to like communicate that when it's just a hoodie?
It's
Yes.
really hard.
Because I
When
feel
you-
like that's been
It's really difficult because online is not really how retail should be working.
right.
And there's a certain point where people just tune out in general, like whether you're showing them too much information or not enough information. You know, no one cares as much as you do. And that's something that Scott and I talk about a lot. It's no one's paying as much attention as you are. And that's a tough thing because when, you know, the people or you, whoever comes through tonight, when you see what we did with this collection, it's really surprising how many elements there are within this, what we've done for Patron and a study in camouflage too. It's sort of too much in a way, from, you know, the EMF linings to all the magnetic clasps, and every fabric is different. It's not like we did a jacket and there's 5 of them. There's a jacket and there's 5 of them, but each fabrication is totally different. It's not like
Right.
a different colorway. And like every single zipper is custom with Riri. You know, there's the amount of work, and every vinyl is a different color reflective for each pant, each shirt, and every shirt and hoodie has a story. Like the what do we call it? The hoodie with the pearls
Thrives
on it.
on Neglect.
Thrives on Neglect. Like that flower graphic was from one of our anniversaries, and the Thrives on Neglect has so much meaning for us. There's a lot of different ways to define what that means, but just within that one hoodie, we could talk about that for probably like an hour.
Yeah, I mean, and all of these, like you said, the T-shirts have a story, and a lot of the graphics are kind of like very like there's infographics and stuff like that. Do you source those from kind of like your own like literature?
Wikipedia.
Speaking of that, we have a
Wikipedia,
present for
baby.
you.
Uh-oh. Okay, so
This
for
is
the
not
viewers at home-
announced yet.
Wait, no way.
So this is
That's
being
legit?
announced, I think, tomorrow.
Holy shit. Actually, that's awesome. So you guys actually legitimately worked with Wikipedia for
And
this?
the foundation.
No way.
I just got chills hearing you say that because it's still that
That's
crazy to
rad.
us. It's a donation shirt, so like the proceeds go to
Wikipedia? To keep
Wikipedia.
it- that is so cool.
And there's a reference on the back to about just sort of like the internet and today.
Wow, I really want to
There's a lot in this shirt too. And we're really excited about that because Wikipedia is a big part of our brand. We like that
We
transparency.
kind of realized it because we never like donate to anything. It hasn't really come up, but we were on Wikipedia like a few months ago and the option to donate came up and I was like, oh, I actually really want to do this. And like, I've never felt that way before. So we donated. And then after that we were like, we need to do a collaboration.
And so you reached out to them? Or
It was a lot harder than that. A lot of the things we do, people
really
wonder how
long
we
process.
do it.
Right.
I couldn't really even describe it because I'm still shocked at some of the things that we're able to make happen.
Pull off, yeah.
But the whole approach with this is that, there's a lot of ways to help the world. And that's something that we keep saying. With brands in general, it feels like when they try to like help a cause, it's very straightforward. It's like, buy this shirt, cause goes to Haiti. And that's amazing, that's great. But we're trying to do it in a new and different way where we're
And also in a really personal way.
really personal too. We're trying to like fund or bring awareness to things that really are personal to us, that are like ever present in our life, in our brand. So Wikipedia is one of those things. And even for example, with Barney's in June, we're doing something. It's the first early warning earthquake system in the U.S. We're the only country without one, and it's a U.S. government-backed system. So we're working with like essentially the government and this early warning system for the West Coast, essentially. And every university on the West Coast is a part of this, like Caltech, Oregon State, like all these major universities. And so our Institute of Arts and Sciences is going to be sort of like one of the universities that it will be helping bring this project to light, and it'll be partial donation, partial awareness, because that's one way we could actually save a life. Hearing about an earthquake 30 seconds before, getting under a table. But anyway, that's the sort of thing that we're always trying to do.
It's really specific to us too, like in LA and California.
Yeah,
it makes sense for us.
So, that's like you guys are wearing your references on your sleeve in a way, because, that means that's where you're getting the graphics from. You want to pay them a little bit of respect. Oh, that's really cool. I was not prepared for that at all. That is like...
Drops bomb. Oh, yeah, and inside this jacket, this will be at Patreon.
Like, this is a direct reference to Wikipedia.
Oh, my God.
So, we literally printed...
So you see the fabric? It's like completely reflective. It has a lot of like rainbow inclusions. It's not traditional 3M.
Right.
So this camouflage reference talks about that specific jacket.
And so for the audience at home, if you open up this jacket, on the inside lining, there's more or less bits and pieces of the camouflage Wikipedia page put on as like a PNG.
And the specific actual kind of like silvering is a kind of camouflage, so like this jacket
So
does.
like that.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's like a form of silvering.
There's so many layers to that. That is crazy.
And of course a little info label, which is like just like
Signature
another like
yours.
reference, and that's on that shirt as well, of course.
Wow. So is that like, who are other people now that you've worked with Wikipedia and like the Institute of Arts and Sciences? Like, can you reach out to anybody at this point? Do you ever like?
It technically didn't even like officially happen yet. It's happening tonight, I guess, like being released.
We're having like a little like pre-release of it at Patreon, but we'll do a real launch of it probably I think next month, and then maybe later, because we want to raise money for Wikipedia. It's a fine line between sort of being a hyped brand and trying to sell out. It's like, we're not trying to sell out of this shirt.
Yeah.
Hopefully we will. That means we raise more money.
Yeah.
So that's sort of like what we're trying to portray with this. It's like, hey everyone, like it's cool if this sells out and that means it's limited and you'll all be happy, but like we're trying to help Wikipedia here because like information, knowledge is power. Information and free information is like a big deal. Like don't take it for granted. PBS.
Stay woke. And then so there's obviously a lot of detail that goes into every single piece. What's your guys' background in either garment design? I mean, you had the band connection. You went to school for
I studied fashion design, yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
At Otis in LA, and I also went to like an arts high school, so
you've been
I was
doing this for like
that.
a long time. Okay.
She's crazy talented. Like she undersells it, but like when I first met her, she had all these sort of samples that are like very Rodarte-esque. Like she's next level, real designer, talented. Right. I bring like this other sort of element where like, of course I understand design. I've worked with Scott on like a lot of different things, but even, you know, he wasn't a traditional designer either. So I come from sort of like this school of like, I don't know, hard knocks, or this street of just being around a lot of, being a real consumer actually really helped me understand how to have a brand. Of course, like I always wanted the newest Nike shoes, or,
right.
you know, I loved Supreme things too. I still do. And that, you know, studying that from the outside and also partaking in a certain way was like really my sort of school.
Right.
Yeah. So that combined is a unique force.
But then we both also have the opposite at the same time, sort of naturally. Like you also have an artistic talent.
It's like a left brain, right brain.
Yeah.
Totally.
What's the hardest part about working with your significant other?
Nothing.
Nothing?
No,
Not for us, yeah.
We're literally together like 24/7.
That's crazy. You guys are like a dynamic duo.
Yeah.
That's insane. And the brand is literally just you two? Is it
Yeah.
still?
Yeah, no, we don't have even an intern.
Really? So like it's like you guys are printing it
and people don't understand we actually hand
course
dye
we're
every
not.
single piece that is dyed. Like there's no dye houses or staff involved in that. Of course we have a production place that like
Yeah, we're not
does
like actually sewing every
Initially
garment.
Heather
but,
sewed everything. Also like for Union, the original Union drops were like sewed by Heather. And then, you know, we
And the
moved-
Colette shirts. Too.
and the Colette stuff for her. Yep.
Wow. That's insane.
The half. There was like half tie-dye, half just like another shirt, and I sewed down like all the seams and.
Wow. That's crazy. Mm-hmm. Like, and so how limited are, like how many, for example, like I wanted the Radiant City hoodie. How many of those did you make for the HBX thing?
Oh, but there was maybe like 90 or 100, something like
the
that.
hoodies?
Yeah.
Wow.
That took forever to do.
Yeah, those were
that
crazy.
was a process.
We were just talking about that, like literally before you guys came in here, because we like, that's probably of the pieces I think I've seen. It's like that and the one with the map of the world and like reflective for that drop.
I love that one. Well, with Patreon, we sort of like took that process from the hoodie. If you look on their Instagram account right now, they actually posted like the Study in Camouflage 2 t-shirt. We found a way to like, we're learning ways to like control the dye in ways that, you know, we haven't seen before. So it looks really unique and different, almost like brush strokes in a way, because it is this sort of like painted
like
process.
A watercolor.
Yeah. So that t-shirt is sort of like coming from that. So an extension of that process.
And when rappers like A Boogie and people reach out to you and stuff like that, how does that work? Do they kind of like,
so it's
hit
funny,
you up first or the
we
other way
actually,
around?
that was one thing where we didn't plan for that.
Right.
Because we're not, you know, like cool, or we're not
You'll
in
stay
that
home most
world.
nights.
Like the other day, we met Shy Glizzy at his studio to drop something off for him, and we were like, "Hi, here."
Yeah.
Like,
hello, Mr. Hip Hop.
It was strange. Our dog was there, and she was jumping all around. I was like, "Shout out, Shy Glizzy." It's inappropriate. But he actually was the one who started the whole thing. He DM'd me like a crystal that he bought from Patreon, and was like, "I need something custom. It's my birthday album." I'm like, "Okay,
For sure, dude,
great.
yeah.
That sounds cool." And we made it for him, and sort of like a lot of people started asking about things, and you know we can't handle that on top of everything else.
I was
right
going to say,
now.
that would be like a crazy
It's a
made
lot.
to order.
We just did something for Joey Badass. We asked him not to post it yet, but he put something in stories, and he's going to do it later, I think. But we have a lot in the pipeline. We just can't do it all at the same time because they take a long time.
Yeah.
Like the one for Joey, we did like a new sort of like crystal infused dye, and we sort of spray painted different areas, and it looks really 3-dimensional.
Right.
We're essentially making, you know, paintings in a way.
Yeah.
And so that have to be wearable, and then we layer in all our other elements, and we're trying to make it different. And so it takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
It's really insane.
I mean, and you guys mentioned having a lot of things in the pipeline. Is there more like on the multimedia side? I know you guys just did a lookbook at what's something Woods, I think his name was?
Jonas
Jonas Woods, right?
Yeah.
Like what's the backstory with him? Because he's like an art, what is he, a curator or a collector?
No, Jonas Woods
He's
is an
an
artist.
He's an artist.
He's an artist and
He's
designer.
like a
painter.
Gagosian artist, major artist. Like we've been fans of his forever, and that's sort of like a dream to to work with him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because he'll be a legacy artist at some point. He'll be like, to me, I think
He
like a
definitely
Coons
is.
and like
Yeah.
he's on that track.
Right.
He's a really, really big deal. And so
His studio is amazing.
insane and really representative of the LA artist. And when we were making this collection and when you see it tonight and you see the installation, we didn't have this, we didn't know we were shooting him because his work is very like leaves and plants and basketball also, which sort of like makes sense. But when you see what we've done and when we started to see it coming together, we're like, wow, Jonas would be so incredible for this. And somehow through the grapevine, we were lucky enough that someone connected us and he accepted, which was so crazy because, artists are like very like singular and they want to do their own thing and don't want to represent anything else. And we were very interested in the art world. Heather having gone to art school and me.
I also intern at Gagosian.
Yeah, it's just the art world's very interesting and fascinating, and I feel like we gravitate more towards that world in a way.
Yeah,
a lot of designers do. I feel like even rap is like on the border. A lot of them they're so interested in the art world.
I think it's because a lot of people would rather be called an artist than a designer. I feel like there's
Maybe.
like a prestige. Like,
Well, Mark Jacobs talks about it a lot. Like he always thought artists were like higher than him.
Right.
Because he's like, fashion designers are commerce driven, where he thought like artists are totally on another level.
Yeah. It's like you've ascended from like, I have to I have to make a budget back. I have to like, my accounts have to be filled or whatever.
There's a whole discussion, because I know even with that, people are like, no,
Yeah,
you're
there's
an
a
artist. Everyone
huge
wears all your
discussion.
things. It's more in the world. But for us, I think, and it's very much like that you can just kind of be alone. And you're just working on one thing. And you don't have to worry about anyone else, which we try not to do. But, we still have to, like, please the world.
Right.
But as much as, like, you can be, we're always...
There's just like a fantasy and mythology around an artist, but it's not necessarily 100% true. Because they do have to still like please people.
Of course,
like
They have like agents that email
buyers,
them.
Yeah.
And there's ways to be the kind of brand that like functions like an artist. Like look at Ray at Comb. Like I don't think she like cares what anyone thinks, especially you saw like in the Met Gala interviews. Even Supreme, it's like James doesn't give interviews. No one even like knows what he really looks like for the most part. Like in this world. So like that's sort of like the approach we want to take.
Semi-anonymous, but like
we're just doing our work because like we really believe in it and we want to make something special. We're not just trying to put graphics on things and collab with everyone just to like sell stuff. Of course, we need money. Who doesn't, to keep going and to live? But I think that's sort of like what separated us a little bit and like why we've seen success early is we're like the definition of authentic, and Scott describes us as the most anti-commerce brand ever.
I wanted to know about that because like you guys have both talked about how like the retail experience is really important for you. Like we did the pop-up at HBX with you guys and then the patron thing tonight. Are you guys like kind of old school when it comes to that, where it's like you got to buy it in the store, or is it like...
Well, for us, Scott comes up a lot because I guess he weirdly like ties into my experience really heavily. I was on an inspiration trip with him in Asia when he was consulting after Ben, and we were in Korea and Tokyo, and I was just like, why am I here? And everything that I'm looking at, I can basically buy on my phone or in LA or anywhere. And it was so boring and depressing. Of course, there's some places in Japan where you can get some stuff that like literally is not anywhere because they're the definition of like artist brand people, really like the denim and all that stuff. But it just got me thinking of like how can this be done differently? Why is everything so just the same? And like in what way is the internet like ruining the world? And so we wanted to find a way to sort of like solve that problem, because what makes something special? What makes someone want to buy something? That's the thing we're always trying to think about and sort of find a way to like change. So I think that's really like our main approach is making special product, and where you feel special when you have it, when you wear it, and not because it was so expensive, because it was not even hard to get, just because it's actually special. And that's really, I think, like that's the essence of ABC, or one of the parts of it.
Right. Now, I've kind of asked everything I've got. What should people be on the lookout for? I know we just announced this. This is hot off the presses.
Hot off the press.
You've got Patron of the New, The Study of Camouflage, Part 2.
I'm trying to think. Well, we're doing Barney's in June. Barney's Beverly Hills. We're doing that Earthquake, sort of like university hoodie, which will be really cool. Oh, Slam Jam. We're taking over Slam Jam in June also. So that's going to be in Milan. And we're going to do something called Eternal Youth. So that's going to be a really fun collection. And then we have a lot of little individual projects coming. We're working with Olafur Eliasson. It's like that, like, talk about major artists. Like he's done like major projects for the city of New York. Like the waterfalls under the Brooklyn Bridge, that was him. Like
really,
he does crazy things, and we're partnering with him to make a shirt that benefits. I think it's the Little
Sun.
Little Sun. It's sort of like this global initiative to help bring like light and energy and power to like, you know, places that don't have it.
Right.
So a portion of the proceeds from that shirt go there, and it's going to be sold at the Marciano Art Foundation. So very specific in LA for his like first huge exhibition there. We're doing something with Dickies in October. Oh yeah.
Oops.
Too hard to talk about that one. There's a few things we're debating
just, like, silently
amongst
asking
ourselves what we
questions.
should reveal. But Dickies is funny. They've been on the table with us since like day one. We drove to Texas like before we even launched our
that
first
was
t-shirt, and we had that
crazy.
confirmed forever, but never had the right moment to do it.
Right.
So we'll be doing that in October, which will be kind of fun. And then yeah, I mean, there's always things come up, and we have some bigger things planned for next year that we don't want to share yet.
Right.
Can't
That's
tell you
still
everything
in the think tank. Yeah.
Yeah.
All
But
right.
yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff coming.
That's incredible. Wow. That's like, you really are like 5 months ahead if you're planning for all
It's
that.
crazy.
Already. Yeah. That's.
It's dizzying at
And
times.
usually when we kind of come to the end, we like to end on like a note where it's like, if you could time travel, right? You go back in time, talk to the 13-year-old you before you had both met each other. What would be the one piece of advice that you would give them?
Meet Heather sooner.
Yeah.
So easy.
How could I compete with that one?
Yeah.
That was so
Same.
sad. No, I walked right into that. Well.
Kissing noises.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for your time. That was fantastic. I'm so stoked on this, on the Wikipedia thing. That's so cool.
See you tonight.
Yeah, of course.
Good.
Yeah, it's right around the corner. And
Perfect.
those are my guys. Shout out to Jonathan Pack. Shout out to
J-Pack.
Waz.
It's fire. It's
J-Pack.
fire.
Oh, don't you ever.